Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I'm going live to talk about a topic that I got that several people asked me about in the past couple of weeks. So I was in Austin, and several people actually came to me and asked me how can I go and work for this company, for that company, if I wanted to be more strategic about my job searching and that sort of stuff. Like how should I go about it? And I've explained a few techniques and tactics and ideas to several people, and I just thought, since it's a topic of interest, maybe it's a good idea to go live. So what I'll show you is basically a process that I use quite a lot actually when I want to, get connect with the company and get to whether if it's for the purpose of job searching or if you're a freelancer and you want to find decision makers in the company and meet with them or anything else. Basically, the idea of how to be strategic about approaching a specific company. What I will say is this process is quite laborious and time intensive. So it's not something that scales. You're not going to approach dozens of company using that process at any given moment, but it's something that you can do to start targeting a few companies that you want to work with, and it might help you a lot. And yeah, and lastly, this is a process that I use when I have a very specific company in mind that I want to work with, and I want to make sure that I'm specifically addressing them. So what I'll do is, let me just share my screen real quick so we can get going. So what I would do is I basically do this. I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll search for, let's say, I want to look for data people. Now, LinkedIn allows you to search. A lot of people don't know, but the search strings on LinkedIn can actually be quiet. Can be actually quite complicated. So what I can do is I can do data manager or data director or data VP or data vice president or chief data officer or chief data officer, like that, um, and so on. So let's say this is the kind of titles that I would like to approach and connect with in this company. And let's say, just for the purpose of this exercise, that I'm looking to target. I'm very much into aviation, so let's look for people who work for Virgin Atlantic, right? Just an airline. Doesn't really matter, but let's take Virgin uh, Atlantic. Yeah, I think that should be all right. So I can already see that they have Virgin Cargo, which is a separate company, right? So I'm not going to get into that. Let's just assume that Virgin Atlantic is enough. So what I'm doing is I'm basically looking for people who are in data management positions in this kind of company. Now I can also filter by first degree, second degree, third degree connections, and so on. First degree would be immediate connections. Second or third degree connections would be people who I'm not directly connected with right now, but second degree I have a common connection with them, and third degree I don't have a common connection with them right now. So what I would do is I'll start first of all with second degree connections, and I'll scan them and I'll see who they are. So I already see a manager for BI and reporting working at Virgin Atlantic. So that looks like a relevant profile. CRM delivery manager, probably not that relevant for data. So why did it come up? I don't know. Data and business solutions lead, analytics professional. So you can see that the search string is not perfect because sometimes it would hit on people that had it in their past roles in different places, but that's okay, right? So how many? So we only have 2 pages of that, really. Head of data product and platform data, AI governance. So what I will try and do is I'll try and find these people and I'll send them a connection request. Ideally, you should send it with a note, just explaining why you want to connect with them, and you can say something along the lines of, I work in the data space. I'm very passionate about aviation, specifically. Be clear about why is it that you are interested in Virgin Atlantic, and send them a connection request. So as I said, it's better to do it with a note. I'm not going to do it right now, but it's really a lot better if you send a note to somebody so they know who you are. Just make sure the note doesn't sound too generic or too, like you're trying to sell them or cold call or anything like that. There will be people whose default is actually, the default action is not connect by follow, but follow. So let me see if I have another example for that. Who's this? Global talent acquisition. So data and AI. So this would be a recruiter working on data and AI. So that also seems relevant. Who's that? Digital delivery manager. So that's also kind of relevant. Maybe content production. So for data, so let's say I wanted to connect with Damien. What LinkedIn does is there's a setting where you can say if the default option is to connect with you or to follow you. Some people turn it on. I think it also has something to do with the creator mode. If you enable that, then people automatically follow you rather than connecting with you. And I can see that this person has a lot more followers. So what they do is they just hide it here. So you have to go into their profile, you hit them with a connection request, and then again you can personalize the invitation and send a specific note. I'm not going to do it this time, but again, you get the idea. Now, the other thing I'll try and do is I'll see who is active on LinkedIn. If anyone is active on LinkedIn, a really good way of getting their attention is to actually engage their content. So, looking at this Damien Barnett person, the recruiter. So, if I look at their activity history, I can actually see all of their past posts. Now, this is from 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and so on. So if you just go and you like each and every one of these posts, what will happen is they will get a lot of notifications with your name. So your name will come up quite a lot to them. That's one way of grabbing attention. The other thing is just to comment. So if you what is it saying here? So they're looking for a payroll manager. Well, that's not interesting for us. But here they're looking for senior data scientist. If you're passionate about that, we're looking for data scientist. Apply here. So that's cool. So in this case, what I can do is I can comment and say something that, like, that sounds like a great opportunity and this kind of stuff. So again, you're just grabbing their attention, and the purpose of that is to make sure that they recognize your name and they know who you are, so that if you reach out to them at some point, they would know who you are. There's also a better chance that they would accept your connection request. Now, and let me do it right now just to show you that it's a no-brainer. Sounds like a great opportunity. Sorry, Damien, if you're seeing this. I'm just using that post as a demonstration. So let me just do this comment. That is perfect. Okay, cool. So hopefully that grabs their attention. Hopefully they would accept our connection request. Now let's go back to our search string. And what I'll do now is I'll move away from second degree connections to first degree connections. And the difference is that first degree connections, you can actually message them. Okay, so once you've established a connection with somebody on LinkedIn, then you have the option of sending them a direct message. It doesn't mean that they would respond, but you have the option. So this is the VP data and AI in Virgin Atlantic. So that's perfect. That's exactly the person that we need. So I'm going to look at the profile. They have a decent amount of followers. So it's usually, this number of followers is probably for somebody who doesn't post regularly on LinkedIn, but they have plenty of connections, which is very good. I can see that they've been there for 2.5 years. I see that before that they were at Ernst & Young back in Virgin Atlantic as data science manager, head of data science and engineering. So they do come from the background of data and also from Virgin. So that's really good. Always working in London, so that's good. There's probably more employment history here. So let me just astrophysicist in Oxford. Well, that's very decent. So I kind of try to get a sense of who the person is. And then again, I'll go and I'll have a look at their activities and I'll see who are they, what do they do, what do they talk about. I'll try to connect again. I can comment, I can like their posts just to try and grab attention so they know who I am. proud to have Virgin Atlantic, one of the highlights of this company. That's cool. That's very good. And again, I can comment on these posts. I mean, this is 1 month old, right? So ideally, you kind of want to find the people who are more active and stay connected with them, and then you can say, "This is awesome." So again, you're trying to be friendly, to engage with with their posts, with their posts, with their content, and try to make your, to stand out from the crowd, not in a way of creating noise, but just being friendly and nice. Okay, manager data and AI governance job in Crowley. That's awesome. That's really cool. This is 2 months old. I'm probably not going to comment on that right now, but you get the point, right? So I'll try to see who are the people that I should connect with, and then Richard Masters. Let's see who else is there in my first degree connections, and then at some point, what you kind of want to do is to send them a message and just introduce yourself and say, "Hi, Richard. I've come across your profile. I'm very interested in this last post you did about a special topic." Now, be specific. Don't do anything weird, AI generated, awkward. Just be genuine, authentic, and see if there are ways you can engage with that person. I would love to spend 30 minutes with you for virtual chat. Now, if it's the VP of data and AI, they may be busy. They may not necessarily have time, but let's have a look. So this is Murali, so the manager of data platform, applied AI leader. So I've got a bunch of connections here that if I message some of them, right, there is a chance that one of them would respond and be positive and say, yes, okay, let's catch up, right? And the purpose of this meeting would be to meet them, to make sure that they are, they know who I am, what kind of value do I add, what kind of background I have, and that sort of stuff. And then see if I can get more connections within Virgin Atlantic, and also ask them if there could be any potential opportunities for someone like me right now in the company. Okay. um, uh, if you're a freelancer, you can talk about projects and your services and that sort of stuff, but don't be too salesy. Again, the purpose of these meetings is to build a relationship, not to be too salesy. I would also probably ask if they have any meetups that they do, or any events or anything where I can come and meet the team and interact with them. If who are the relevant recruiters that I should follow to find relevant information, and I'll try to connect with them. By the way, I'm showing only managers and leaders, but by all means, connects with data scientists, data engineers, analysts, and they should be very friendly and great people. And some of them might be able to tell you more about the company and what it's like to work there, and the culture and that sort of stuff, and who are the key people that you should be following. I'll try to find the ones that are active now. Let's just do something just for the purpose of you staying connected with the company. So we've identified Richard Masters, Murali Karumuru, and Damien. What was the name of the recruiter? Damien. 1 second. Damien. Barnett. Perfect. Okay. And Murali was here. So the next thing I'm gonna do is, where's Murali? Sorry, I lost it. 1 second. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I want to stay abreast with what the companies, with what people are talking about, what they're posting about, and all of that. So what I can do is I can identify 5, 6, 7, 10 people from the company that are more active on LinkedIn. And what I will do is I'll go here again in the search string. I'll look for the word data, because that would be a common word. And actually, this time around, I'm looking for posts. So these are data posts from member, and then Richard Masters. Uh, Damien, Richard Masters, Damien Barnett. I think because I'm not connected with Damien, and who was this third person? Murali Karumuru. So yeah, you have to be first degree connection with them to follow them. But the point is, if I had like 5, 10 different names here, and I sort it by, so these are posts from people who work for, that I've identified work for the company that I'm interested in, and I'll look at latest. So these would be the latest posts of them. And what's interesting here is that this URL right now is basically a good search string for all of the latest posts from these people. So what I can do is I can just go here, bookmark the URL, and I'll say Virgin Atlantic posts to follow. So I can leave it in my bookmarks tab here. So it's, sorry, so it's always oh, I don't know if you can actually see it. I don't know if you, but what I did is I basically added it here in the bookmarks tab. So every time I click this link, I'll basically get the search result of all the latest posts from people in this company, which is great. And now I can basically get back to it once every day, once every couple of days, and do this. The other option is when you follow somebody, you also have the option of turning on the notifications. So every time this person post something, I probably want to be one of the first ones to comment or to respond to that. So I can turn on the notifications, and I can say all. The reason you want to do it is because usually when people post something, they're still more active on LinkedIn and their attention is still there, and it's a good way. Like if you're one of the first people to grab their attention, then they would recognize, they would remember you, especially if you comment with something that is relevant to what they do, and you can save it. So now every time Richard would post something, then I would get notified immediately on my phone. So again, that's a really good way of staying connected with somebody who works for a company that you're about and you want to work with. um, so yeah, that's usually the process that I would follow. I would try to map out and identify the key people. I would try to connect with them. I would see who is relevant, and who is active on LinkedIn. Make sure that I have a good search string that I can find their posts quickly, and then I'll come back to it often. And yeah, I'll just build connections for the purpose of connecting. Remember, you're not trying to sell them anything, you're not trying to find a job, you're genuinely trying to connect. That's the important part. You're doing your networking. If there are ways you can help them, that's even better. And down the line, these things will potentially be useful for you. I see that we've got a few people on the live stream, so thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to send them now in the chat. I'll respond to them. And if not, I'll give it a couple of minutes. If not, we can probably start wrapping things up. As I said, this is a process that I use a lot to connect with people, to connect with companies. And the last thing I'll say, by the way, is I'm just going back to my original search. So searching for people. And if I look at second degree connection, one of the things that you need to be aware of is you can see who are the mutual connections. And when you look at a person, sorry, I'll just go back so you know what I'm doing. So with this, with Steve Caitlin, for example, um, I have 13 mutual connections. So these two and 11 others. So if I click on that, I will basically see all of the connections we have in common. So I would go over that list and I'll see if there's anyone that I have a very good relationship with, that I know personally and I have a good relationship, and I can ask them for an introduction. The reason this is really important is because when you just randomly reach out to people out of the blue, if you just send them a DM and you say, hey, can we meet, they may or may not be open to that. But usually when you get a warm introduction from from mutual connection, assuming that this person knows both you and them very well, then they would be more receptive to it, and you get, the option, the door opens and you get the option to talk to them directly and connect. So make sure you look at your mutual connections, make sure you understand who are the people you both know, and see if there are any ways you can get warmer introductions than just making a cold call and reaching out to people. And the last thing I'll say is, again, it's not a scalable process. It takes a lot of time to research a company, to understand who are the key people. You want to be persistent. You want to be commenting for several weeks. You want to make yourself known. You want to set up meetings. So again, it's for the case that you have a very specific company that you want to work with, either as a freelancer or as a full-time employee. You know, if you're looking for jobs, connect with managers, connect with recruiters, anyone in the space of data and analytics in that company, and stand out, make yourself known to them, and then find your way in and find a way to, where there's a mutual benefit for you working together, either through a freelancing project or through a full-time employment. Any final questions before we wrap it up? Feel free to drop it in the chat. Not seeing any just yet. Okay, cool. So if there are no more questions, as I said, hopefully this is a process I use all the time. Hopefully that's useful for you, that's beneficial for you. This is a really, really good way of connecting with the company. So please experiment with that. Try that. Don't be shy. I mean, remember, the worst case is, people will not approve your connection request. Nothing happens. The worst case is you send a message to someone and they will not respond. Nothing will happen. There's no harm in trying. If you try, you may succeed or you may fail. If you don't try, you will never succeed. So remember that. Give it a go. Try, connect with companies, and hopefully you will find the greatest opportunities that you were looking for. Thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. And check out my latest video, by the way, about uncertainty and how to create real value with data. We just shot it last week in the helicopter. It's a really, really cool video. I hope you like it. I also hope you like this format. And drop a comment below if you have any questions. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions, I read all the comments or respond to them. And yeah, thank you. That's been great. Thank you.